It is difficult not to have immense respect and even feel a little intimidated when standing behind this beautiful, powerful, and expensive beast. Hi guys, Eric here and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be having a look at this 2019 Mercedes-AMG C63 S Coupe. Powered by a 4-litre twin-turbo V8, it produces 375 kilowatt and 700 newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 is taken care of in 4 seconds flat. Those are some serious numbers for a relatively compact car, and to me, the fastest car I have ever driven, never mind reviewed. And to think it all started with a modified 2.3 litre 8-valve engine found in an old E-Class. By reworked, I mean new cylinder heads designed by Cosworth and double the amount of valves to 4 valves per cylinder. The end product was 136 kilowatt and 236 newton meters of torque. The name 190E 2.3-16V. Quite a mouthful, ironically, but it was no joke. Unveiled in 1983 at the Frankfurt Motor Show, it had a 0 to 100 km/h time of 7.8 seconds and a top speed of 230 km/h. Then, in 1988, Mercedes-Benz released the 190E 2.5-16V. The same engine, but bored out to 2.5 litres. Power was up to 147 kilowatt with a catalytic converter and 150 kilowatt without. 0 to 100 dropped to 7.6 seconds. The 16-valve body kit reduced the drag coefficient to 0.32, the lowest of any saloon of the time. Mercedes also released 2 Evo models in 1989 and 1990 respectively. The Evo 2 had a 0 to 100 time of 7.1 seconds. No joke at all. Jump ahead to 1995 and the public was graced with the first official C-Class AMG, the W202 C36. Power was a decent 206 to 214 kilowatt, with torque hovering around the 350 newton meter mark. The differences was due to the 3.6 litre engines being hand-built. It was released with a 5-speed automatic, sending power to the rear wheels. 0 to 100 km/h took 5.8 seconds and had an unlimited top speed of 272 km/h. But all cars were limited to 250 km/h. In 1998, Mercedes and AMG updated the C-Class flagship to the C63 AMG. It featured a tuned 5-speed automatic used in the SL500, brakes from an E55 AMG, and a 4.3 litre V8 producing 225 to 228 kilowatt and a meaty 410 newton meters of torque. That bump in power shaved 0.1 of a second off at 0 to 100 time, but top speed remained limited at 250 km/h. In 2001, the W203 received the AMG treatment in the form of the C32 AMG. It was offered in both sedan and estate versions. AMG opted to go back to V6 power for better weight distribution. The product of the labor came in the form of a 3.2 litre twin-screw supercharged V6, producing 260 kilowatt and 450 newton meters of torque. That was a big jump in power. 0 to 60 miles an hour took an unbelievable 5.2 seconds, and the top speed was blasted to 250 kilometers an hour. In 2004, Mercedes and AMG experimented with a diesel power C-Class, which was named the C30 CDI AMG. The tuned diesel engine produced 170 kilowatts and a healthy 540 newton meters of torque. Sadly, the public didn't show much interest and production stopped in less than half a year. This was to be the only diesel AMG ever. That same year, the petrol variant was handed a new power plant, a naturally aspirated 5.4 litre V8. Power was upped by 10 kilowatt and 60 newton meters respectively. That doesn't sound like much, but 0 to 60 miles an hour dropped to an unbelievable 4.7 seconds. To accommodate the bigger engine, the C55 had a longer bonnet borrowed from the CLK. With the new W204 AMG came yet another engine, this time a naturally aspirated 6.2 litre V8. This time though, things were much different beneath the skin. This is known to be the first Mercedes-AMG that was built from scratch. Previous versions had performance added to the regular cars. They suffered for it too, with understeer and heavy steering being the main complaints. The 2008 W204 C63 is known to have the most responsive steering of any Mercedes ever. That is high praise indeed. Then there is the power. 336 kilowatt, a massive 66 kilowatt increase, and almost 600 newton meters of torque. Nanny aids were also reworked so that the ESC only interferes under very hard braking. It received a 7G-tronic gearbox with 4 modes, among which manual, that allows you to reach the engine's rev limiter. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour took a brisk 4.2 seconds, and top speed was finally up to a blistering 250 kilometers an hour. In 2011, AMG released the P31 development package. Power was up to 358 kilowatts and top speed was pushed to 280 kilometers an hour. These are truly serious numbers. I personally always underestimated the C-Class AMG models, particularly the C32. When the W205 was released in 2014, I was at odds with it. The front end was good looking, although it lacked some personality, but the rear light clusters reminded me of a bug's eyes, and it looked far too much like an S-Class. It didn't have an identity of its own. It was, dare I say it, derivative. The pictures I saw of the interior, though, shut me up completely. It looked astonishing. The swooping dash, the stunning circular vents, the gorgeous center console, with the admittedly daring infotainment system sticking out of it. Oh my gosh, the steering wheel. I thought the W204 steering wheel was the prettiest, but this one stole the honor. I adore its small diameter and the lower metal accents. Then there's a soft Napa leather. The seat looks like something from an Art Deco website. I was smitten. Things just got better when I was introduced to the W205 Coupe in 2015. That rear end. Not as well proportioned as the S-Class Coupe, but so much more beautiful than its sedan brother. Plus, you get that interior. I would have loved the omission of the B-pillar, but otherwise, I was all smiles. The AMG only adds to this stunning piece of machinery. From the back, your sense of sight is rewarded with a rear diffuser surrounded by quad exhaust and a small lip spoiler. From the side, you notice those gorgeous black 19-inch wheels. The design of the hub gives the illusion that it is a center-lock wheel, but it is only a cover. Remove it and you find 5 nuts just like any other mid-size car. What you won't easily find is the width of the tires, with 255 front and 285 rear. The AMG also does away with the chrome trim, rather replacing it with piano black window surrounds, roof rails and side skirts. The brake calipers are painted red because sporty. The bonnet receives some well-deserved power bulges and the front air takes are huge, but not ungainly. This is a very attractive car indeed. I can't hold myself in any longer. Allow me to thoroughly acquaint you with this Mercedes-AMG C63 S. You get the sense that Mercedes really want to relive their glory days of being a cut above the rest. A lot of money has been invested in its design and I applaud it. I adore this interior. Its swooping curves a far cry from its predecessor's angular theme. When the W205 was released, this was the new standard for compact executive interiors. Nothing like it was coming from its rivals, and to be honest, even today its rivals can't match its sense of occasion. In this AMG trim, it strikes a fantastic balance between elegance and aggression. This steering wheel being a prime example. Its design reminds me of the 1960s, with its center protruding out and the generous use of metal. But with its smaller diameter, thicker rim, Alcantara grips, and a thin white stripe to indicate the top, you immediately sense the immediacy. The AMG specific analog dials, however, gives you no doubt about its seriousness. Between the rev counter and speedometer, you find a rather large full-color driver's information display. Its blue hue again offsetting the anger of the red accented dials. You notice this marriage of elegance and aggression around the rest of the cabin too, to great success. My only gripe being the trim. This center console is largely unchanged from its W205 donor car, which is beautiful in its own right. But the shiny carbon fiber trim clashes with its swooping curves. I would much rather prefer a piano black or even an open pore wood option. The rest of the cabin is stunning. Even by today's standards, this looks like a concept car's interior. These three metal-wrapped circular vents under the admittedly divisive tablet-like infotainment system just scream opulence. However, my favorite detail are the side air vents. Its surrounds entirely made of metal. Operating these vents, an experience entirely on its own. Then there is the metal toggle switches for the climate controls. Am I in an S-Class? Can't be, because this analog clock doesn't remind me of a wristwatch that belongs on a 98-year-old man. Its sporty dials again adding to the theme of urgency. These beautifully trimmed sports seats are supremely supportive and very comfortable. Even my small frame feels cosseted. The soft Napa leather from the seats extend to the center armrest, as well as the armrest on the doors. Move upwards and you're rewarded with a very large tilting sunroof. The sunshade, also electrically operated, is semi-sheer, so the front of the cabin never feels too dark. The materials used are excellent. Everything you touch feels smooth, soft, or both. I am particularly surprised by the amount of metal in this cabin, and what a big difference it makes. I love the solid metal slab that runs from the side air vent to behind the infotainment system. It just screams opulence. All the buttons on this stunningly designed door panel is forged out of solid metal. Even the boot release and electric parking brake switch are cold to the touch. The buttons that aren't have subtle metal surrounds. You have top stitching on top of the dash as well as on top of the doors. Then there is the design of the optional Burmester speaker covers. It is a piece of art. I am mesmerized by its intricate patterns, and this on a speaker cover. Next to that is a section for the electric memory front seats. Its design reminds me of a business class airplane seat in a way that it reclines. It just oozes comfort. Speaking of which, there is additional switches for the lumbar and side bolstering next to the seat itself. I had to feel around the cabin for quite a while to find any hard plastics. I did find some, but in places you will almost never touch. I truly forget that this is essentially a C-Class. it feels so expensive. Oh yeah, right, never mind. Fit and finish is exemplary. There are no inconsistent panel gaps. Everything is well dampened. Every mechanism operates smoothly. The buttons give great feedback, and the toggle switches for the climate control is a treat to, well, toggle. The air vents feel super sturdy. The doors are heavy in all the right ways, and everything feels solidly put together. Everything that is, except for the center console. Push on a section that has buttons and there is movement accompanied by creaks. This is the only issue I found with build quality. You really do get what you pay for. The great thing about buying a car from a manufacturer with a vast history is the cute Easter eggs you find around the cabin. One example is the door locks. We had a 1986 W124-200 with exactly the same design door locks. Then you have these chrome pieces at the end of the doors. These pieces being present in almost all Mercedes coupes since the 1950s. And the seatbelt butler. Close the door and a mechanism whirs the seatbelt forward for easy access. There is also a command button in the center console for said butler. Just a quick run through of the infotainment system. Personally, I prefer it when the screens are better integrated into the dashboard, like this car's predecessor, the W204. But the screen has grown on me. It offers decent graphics and doesn't lag unnecessarily. You can even use your phone's internet to find Mercedes apps as well as play internet radio. This system is not a touchscreen. Instead, you have this rotary dial or a touchpad placed above said dial. I prefer this setup to a touchscreen as it is easier to navigate while on the move. A cool Easter egg is that you can write on the touchpad when entering a destination into the sat-nav. Storage is very generous indeed. A big glove box, medium-sized door pockets, 2 cup holders with an ashtray underneath a very well dampened lid, and a wide and deep storage compartment underneath the center armrest. It is important to note the operation and design of this storage area. It is such a treat to operate. The boot that can be opened and closed electronically is deceptively long, if a little shallow. However, there will be more than enough space for most people. You also have access to some tethering hooks as well as a grocery hook. The seats fold completely flat to make way for a continuous loading bay without any annoying ridges. The electric operation though is rather pointless as you have to contort awkwardly to reach the close button. And rather annoyingly, there is no external boot release whatsoever. Get in the back and I am torn, literally and figuratively. Knee and headroom is at a premium, to say the very least. Also, unlike its E-Class cousin, there is a giant B-pillar present and these small rear windows are fixed. Combine that with the black headliner and it is almost impossible not to feel claustrophobia setting in. On the other hand, there is the sensory experience. This lever that moves the front seat out of the way is made out of solid metal and is beautifully integrated into the front seats. There is top stitching underneath the rear window and these beautiful speaker designs extend from the front doors. You have access to 2 climate vents wrapped in metal and an air cutoff switch, again made out of metal. You also have 2 storage compartments as well as 2 cup holders. You can even lower the center seat back as a makeshift center armrest. So basically everything you could possibly need with the exception of the most important factor, space. And that kind of takes away from the neat little touches you get back here. However, this is present on its rivals as well, and they do not have this interior to fall back on. Okay, I have waited long enough, and so have you. What is the driving experience like? This is a big deal for me. I've always been a big fan of V8, and it does not get much louder than this. That is courtesy of the sports exhaust. You have a choice between comfort and sport plus, but really it is a choice between loud and really loud. I adore it. Curious how I really love the sound of loud V8s, yet absolutely attest Harley Davidson's. The Dynamic Select works in conjunction with the steering, suspension, steering feel and throttle response. You have a choice between comfort, sport, sport plus, race and individual. There is quite a noticeable difference between all these modes, except for the suspension. I can't really feel a difference in the ride between comfort, sport plus and race. The suspension is firm. Really firm. Even in comfort mode, most bumps are felt. Fortunately, thanks to very comfortable seats, it is never unbearable. The suspension is also very well dampened. It doesn't crash easily over bumps. Make no mistake though, speed bumps and potholes are enemies here. God, the sound is intoxicating. I can't get enough of it. If it were up to me, there will be no comfort mode in the sports exhaust. It would be loud, raucous all the time. Thankfully, this is not a case of all bark and no bite. With 375 kilowatts and 700 newton meters of torque, pushing a 1.8 ton car, it feels rather brisk. No, that's not it. Ridiculous. Money swallowing, unadulterated fun. Yeah, that's better. The C63 is rear-wheel drive, so acceleration from a standstill will always be hindered by the traction control. However, overtaking in this monster is an absolute joy. It makes you feel like you are untouchable. That is quite an important feeling for a guy who weighs in at a mind-bending 68 kilograms. I really like this car. I think I understand now why I like V8 so much. The steering is lovely, especially with the Drive Select mode in Sport Plus. It gives good feedback and is beautifully weighted. It is also a joy feeling these Alcantara grips. It gives you the impression of being in a race car, but with public roads ahead of you outside of the windshield. The 7-speed, multi-clutch, speed shift automatic transmission is a lovely unit. Even in comfort mode, it is really quick to respond. Don't expect DSG levels of speed, but still. I really do believe though that for everyday driving, this car could really benefit from an all-wheel drive system. With this huge amount of torque going to the rear wheels alone, you either burn through rubber like an addict burns through crack, or the traction control jumps in and spoils all the fun. Thankfully, Mercedes offers launch control on its S variants. When in Sports Plus or Race mode, put your left foot on the brake, your right foot on the accelerator, pull both steering mounted pedals, release the brakes, and this thing will launch itself with you in it in the quickest way possible. Driving the C63 S around town is really easy. The turning circle isn't too wide, and the steering, especially when in comfort mode, is nice and light. As standard, you also get front and rear park distance control, as well as a reversing camera with excellent graphics. Low speed ride, as always, is firm but not uncomfortable. All in all, it's as easy to drive this car around town as any other B-segment hatchback. Just much quicker. Out on the twisties and this car becomes alive. I really and truly enjoy driving this car on more demanding roads. I particularly like the steering. It gives great feedback, and I know exactly what the front wheels are up to. There is also huge amounts of grip available, and with this extremely powerful engine, you feel as though you can conquer the Nürburgring. I was expecting a bit more when it comes to sound deadening though. This is my biggest criticism of the C63 S. Road noise is rather deafening. At highway speeds, you struggle to hear your passenger. The sound system helps out a bit, but still, I want the best of both worlds. And surely a quiet cabin is a very important factor to people who can afford this beauty. Saving weight makes sense. Allowing this gorgeous engine sound to enter the cabin makes sense. But at what cost? This car is no long distance cruiser. Pity. Thankfully, most people won't buy this car as a daily driver. It will be an occasion car. And when I change my perspective to that, this becomes a proposition that I can't ignore. It is gorgeous. The interior is sublime, and it has an exhaust note that will haunt your memories for weeks. Trust me, I know. Added to that, the sense of pride you get from owning the ultimate C-Class, and you have a winner on your hands. Thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. I feel so fortunate to share my experiences with you guys. If you haven't already, please remember to subscribe to my channel for more great content. And if you enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up. It makes the biggest of differences. I hope you guys have a great day. Until next time, bye.